Welcome to the first episode of Taste Reviews Drink Edition. I'm your host, Derek Silver, and I welcome you to this very first episode where we taste, review all drinks, whiskeys, bourbon whiskeys, tequilas, cognacs. Shoot, maybe even I'll throw some wines up in there, but we'll see. But today, for the first episode, we will be tasting Brough Brothers Bourbon Whiskey. Brough Brothers Bourbon Whiskey is a black-owned whiskey company owned and run by three brothers. It is distilled in Indiana, but bottled in the Brough Brothers Distillery in Louisville, Kentucky. Now I'll go into a little description of the whiskey and the owners of the company, and then we'll run right along into explaining what a bourbon is, what bourbon whiskey is, just a little details and stuff about bourbon whiskey. So let's go right into the actual Brough Brothers company. The brothers, there are three brothers, like I said, that own and run this company. Their names are Christian Yarbrough, Bryson Yarbrough, and Victor Yarbrough. I believe their company started in 2020, so they've been around. They're still very, young in the alcohol, bourbon, whiskey game, but they've been making an impact. I came across this whiskey or bourbon whiskey while I was just going to the liquor store one day looking for something for the weekend. And what attracted me to it was the bottle. I'm very young in my whiskey game right now. I've probably been into whiskeys for about I'll say, shoot, 4 years. Um, but the bottle attracted me. The logo on the bottle attracted me. The faces of the brothers are on the bottle, as well as a lot of relevant Kentucky history. You got the boxing glove on there. You got Kentucky is already known for bourbon whiskey, so you got that on there. You got just skyline of the city of Louisville, Kentucky. So yeah, that's what attracted me to the bottle. And another thing that attracted me to it as well was the price point. I've seen it in several liquor stores since the first time that I've got it, and the price is consistent, $29.99. It's a good bourbon whiskey price, $30. You see, it's a nice bottle, and this is for the fifth. So let's get into talking more about this particular bourbon whiskey. And this is coming from the Brough Brothers website. And I'll make sure I have all of that down in the description of this video. So this is coming from their actual website where they describe the taste, the nose, and how it's the ingredients of this particular bourbon whiskey. So their description of the taste is a medium body flavor featuring fruity notes of green apple and pear. It also has subtle hints of ginger and nutmeg, featuring a golden honey color. The nose, and that's just explaining the smell of it. Attractive floral aromas of in bloom red roses with fragrant apples and nutmeg. The ingredients, which they call the mash bill. And this particular bourbon whiskey is 75% corn, 21% rye, and 4% malted barley. And it has a 41% alcohol volume, and is 82 proof. So let's get into some more about bourbons and bourbon whiskeys. And this is my book that I use for all things that have to do with whiskeys. It's called A Field Guide to Whiskey. and it just has tons of facts in it and information about whiskeys, bourbon whiskeys, straight whiskey, straight bourbon whiskeys. There's just so much. And I'll be going into all of that as I record more episodes. But first, how is bourbon made? Bourbon is made from a mixture of grains consisting of at least 51% corn with the addition of rye and or wheat and malted barley. And I just read the ingredients or the mash bill of this particular bourbon whiskey, and you see that they had all of those three ingredients: the corn, the rye, and the malted barley. So let's go into some more about this. Another question that this book poses is all American whiskey bourbon? Not all American whiskey is bourbon, but all bourbon is American. Originally, American whiskey was made mainly of rye. It wasn't until later that they began to distill domestic corn. So, like it says, all bourbon is American. Let's go into some more interesting information. So, like I said, there's all different types of bourbons and whiskeys. They got a straight bourbon, they got Kentucky straight bourbon. Um, and this particular bourbon whiskey is just a bourbon whiskey. It's not a straight bourbon, and it's not a it's not a Kentucky straight bourbon. And the reason why it's not a Kentucky straight bourbon is because it is distilled in Indiana. If it was distilled in Kentucky, where it's bottled, then it would be considered a Kentucky straight bourbon. I gotta make sure I say that correctly. So it says when Kentucky straight bourbon is on the label, the whiskey in the bottle has to be made and matured in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Maturation cannot be less than 2 years and 1 day. So that's why this is not considered a Kentucky straight bourbon. Now, on to the fun part of this video, the actual tasting of this whiskey. So let me move this bottle to the side. I know you're wondering why I had 3 different types of glasses here. So I'm going to get into that. The 2 glasses on the outside are called tumblers. What is a tumbler? A tumbler is a wide, heavy glass shorter than a highball. This glass is loved by those who prefer to drink their whiskey on the rocks. This glass in the middle is called a nosing glass or a snifter. It says originally the nosing glass or snifter was a wide glass on a stem with a round tapered body meant for the enjoyment of brandy or cognac. Its special design allows the liquid to breathe while the aromas assemble in the upper part of the glass. So, I know you're probably asking yourself, why do I have 2 tumblers? I have 2 tumblers because this particular tumbler right here has ice in it. This one doesn't. The reason why I have 2 different tumblers, one with ice, one with not, is because ice adds a effect to the whiskey. It says ice anesthetizes the palate. The colder the whiskey, the less diversity in flavor and aroma can be detected. However, ice can also evoke unexpected thrills. Ice cold whiskey combined with a piece of chocolate, a bonbon, or a chocolate dessert provides a very pleasant sensation. And this one right here without the ice, I'm going to put a little splash of water in it. Now I know you're probably saying, why are you putting water in the whiskey? So I'll tell you, and this is something that I had to learn in my journey of learning about drinking whiskeys and bourbon whiskeys, bourbons, and all that other stuff. The water also adds an effect to the whiskey. And I ain't talking about just pouring the water in there, just a splash. Water to whiskey, bourbon whiskey, and bourbons is like adding a pinch of salt or a pinch of sugar to some food. It heightens the flavor. So, according to the book, it says adding water opens the whiskey and reveals more aromas. But beware, too much of it can drown a whiskey, and old whiskeys may completely collapse. A plastic pipette is a handy tool for adding water by the drop. There is no golden rule in the end. How much water to add is a matter of trial and error and personal preference. All things with when it comes to just tasting anything, food, drinks, whatever, taste, shoot, any type of taste. Your tasting anything is always a personal preference. But this is just, general guide to anything to to this particular whiskey. So let's get into it because I'm tired of talking and I can smell the whiskey. But let me rewind back so I can give a particular description on the reviews of this particular glass, which is called the snifter, the snifter or the nosing glass. So it says, how do I nose whiskey? It says, smell the whiskey by keeping your nose about half an inch to an inch above the glass. So let me try that. It does smell real good. I can smell the floral notes in it. Smells nice and sweet. Smells smooth. It says, note the difference between nosing with your mouth closed and open. Take little sniffs like a rabbit and breathe out through your mouth. A thorough sniff with your nose deep in the glass will cause the alcohol to anesthetize your olfactory receptors and you won't taste or smell much for the next 10 to 15 minutes. That sounds harsh, but let me get another sniff of it and I'm going to take a taste now. It is very sweet, definitely smooth. Let me go back to the description that they gave on the website to see if I can taste some of the things that they was describing of their own whiskey. It's definitely medium body. It's not strong. It's not harsh at all. It's real smooth. You can feel it, but it's not overwhelming. It says featuring fruity notes of green apple and pear. I definitely taste the pear. I can taste the ginger. It says it has subtle hints of ginger and nutmeg. I can taste the ginger. I definitely can taste the apple now. It doesn't have a strong aftertaste. Yeah, that was good. That was good. So let me try now with the ice. See if I can get a different flavor. But first, let me take a sip of my water. Anytime you're always doing a tasting, you should always take a sip of water in between your tastings. So let me get it with the ice. Yeah, now that I'm trying to sniff it with the ice, and remember what the book said about the ice can eliminate the smells. I can't smell it at all. Let me tell you something. With the ice, it's not as smooth. I can't really taste all of the flavors that I tasted with the snifter or the nosing glass. So let me move on to the next tumbler, and I'm gonna put a splash of water in there, just a cap full of it. First, let me take a sip. Almost forgot. Now without the ice, even though I put a splash of water in there, they said the water's supposed to heighten the smell of it. It's definitely gotten stronger. Let me take a sip. Definitely, it's even more smoother with the water. Definitely more smoother. I can taste the pear. I can taste the apple. Um, what else? You say there's ginger, nutmeg. It's funny because with the splash of water, now I can taste the nutmeg. I couldn't taste it when I drank it from the nosing glass or the tumbler with ice. But with the nosing glass, I didn't taste the nutmeg that much. I taste more of the ginger. But with this tumbler and a splash of water, I definitely can taste the nutmeg. Definitely can taste that. Still smooth. Still tastes very good. Not strong. Like I said, they described it as a medium body. I would go much to say that is not even a medium body. Shoot is not strong at all. It's very smooth. It's very smooth. But overall, good taste. Now, for the overall tasting review of Brough Brothers Bourbon Whiskey. Out of five tastes, out of five tastes, I give this a 4.5 out of 5. Could be a 5. Um, I almost feel like some things aren't perfect, so I don't want to give it a 5 out of 5. But it could be a 5 out of 5. But I'm gonna say 4.5 out of 5. I give the Brough Brothers Bourbon Whiskey for a lot of reasons. The price point is great. $30 for a fifth of bourbon whiskey, that is excellent. And the fact that it's actually smooth, it's smooth. It doesn't have a strong aftertaste. It doesn't sit with you. Like I feel like this particular bourbon right here, I can I can get a nice steak, put it on a grill, or some lamb chops or something like that. Pour me a glass, light up a cigar, and I'm good. Brough Brothers Bourbon Whiskey. Like I said, I will have all of the information down in the description of the video. I appreciate you tuning in for the first episode of Taste Reviews Drink Edition. As I go along, there will be plenty of changes. So bear with me, but I thank you very much for tuning in. This is a Taste to Consider Network. Thank you. I'm out.